Hello, everybody. This is the Chocolate News Podcast. I'm your co-host, Andria Carter. My other co-host, John Reese, is on vacation this week, so we will miss him, but we're going to proceed as usual to bring you the great chocolate news. And if you don't know, the Cincinnati Herald has been around since 1955 and is the leading African-American owned newspaper in the greater Cincinnati area and northern Kentucky area. And today we have a very special guest, actor, producer, director, Michael Chenevert. Say your last name.
Chenevert. You got to take the T off the end.
I Americanized it.
Yeah, that's all right. But
okay, so today I'm going to do this again. Okay, so we have a very special guest, Michael Chenevert, who is not a stranger to Cincinnati, who has been here several times. I just found out that I actually saw him in another production at Playhouse, Satchel Paige, way back when. So obviously he is familiar with Cincinnati, and I know you don't do Skyline chili.
No, I have had it though. I have had it.
Okay, but before we get to Michael, I'm going to do a little bit of chocolate news real quick. And the chocolate news for today, first off, is the House finally elected a speaker. So we're no longer 22 days without leadership in Congress. We'll just put it like that. So Mike Johnson from Louisiana is the new speaker. The entire Republican caucus voted for him. Now, even though he got everyone to vote for him and he's very, very nice and very, he has a nice persona, he overall is just like Jim Jordan, and he supports the MAGA wing of the Republican caucus. He just is more weathered and more personable about what he represents and what he stands, and he stands his ground. Unfortunately, there were people saying he should not become speaker. Unfortunately, he's speaker with 221 Republicans voting for him. So we'll see how they start to get the business of the nation underway again and see how they will fund both Ukraine and the Israeli wars, even though he's sort of against both. But we'll see what happens. So there's that. Then also the chocolate news is that there is record enrollment at UC, which has sparked interest for many, many people becoming a Bearcat. Also, a number of sports teams at UC have been winning, even though the football team has lost a couple of games this season, but they're on their mark to be very impressive. So congratulations, UC, on that. Also, for the chocolate news, real quick, this is something, it's a little dicey. We're not as bad as other cities, but don't be surprised if you're walking down the street and you might see a little friend walking next to you. It seems, according to Orkin, they released their annual list of ranking cities on the number of new rodent services that they have. And Cincinnati and two other times, unfortunately, were placed on the list. We're not as bad as New York, Los Angeles, or Cleveland, or Chicago, but there's a few more small friends walking around the city than they have been before, which is unfortunate. So, I mean, during the day, I'm an outreach worker, and I work in the various neighborhoods, and I was out last week with my colleagues, and we happened to see a couple little friends out walking real quick. So, it's in very, very off-putting areas. Just be careful, and I would say if you see it, report it, but we're not that bad as everybody else. So I thought that was something of interest to let folks know. Other quick news for chocolate news today before we get to our special guest, I would just say that more than 40 states have sued Facebook and targeting children with regarding addictive features. You know how social media spreads rampant information very, very quickly. And, children who are not trained or attuned to, they believe all the things that they see, but also the peer pressure that has appeared on social media affects their mental health. So states are suing Facebook about not putting enough targeting, not enough blocks in to help young people not get affected by what they see on social media. So we'll see how that lawsuit comes out. A couple other things real quick. One, in the Georgia case against Donald Trump, another lawyer, another one of his lawyers pled guilty. Jenna Ellis, crying all the way through the procedure, pled guilty to a felony count of election interference. And she got probation. She stayed out of jail. She's already barred working in Colorado, so I don't wonder how she's gonna be barred further by not being able to operate as a lawyer. Basically, she regrets representing Donald Trump, and she will be testifying against him in court. So we'll happen to see that. And then a sad note, Richard Roundtree has lost his battle with cancer and he died. The man who played Shaft, who started Shaft Legacy, the theme song, he also later on, if people didn't know him from as Shaft, he also starred in being Mary Jane and a few other films along the way. He has had a great career. He's done so much. He played in The Great White Hope. He starred in Gordon Parks' film. He was also in Shaft's Big Score, Shaft in Africa. Later on, when they redid Shaft with Sam Jackson and a young man playing his son, he also appeared in that. So there are 3 generations of Shafts. He's been on Grey's Anatomy. He's been in Heroes. Some of the later shows that you've seen. Also, he was on what is that show on Netflix? It's a family show that I cannot think of the name of it, but it's a good one.
Richard Roundtree was on?
Yeah, he played the father.
The OG? No.
No, not the OGs. It's a funny one. It's with you know what? It's gonna drive me nuts.
Being Mary Jane. Let's see.
It was Being Mary Jane. No, it was
yeah, Get In and Hang with Him. Yeah, on Being Mary Jane. It was with Gabrielle Union.
Yeah, he was in that. He played the dad in that, but he also is in another family show. It is the
Family Reunion?
Yes.
Family Reunion. Okay.
Family Reunion. He was in that. And only reason why I couldn't think of Family Reunion right away is because it went off. They have not started a new season yet with Family Reunion. But he plays the husband of Loretta Devine, and he played the minister. And Loretta Devine plays the first lady. And her son was either football or basketball, and he brings his family home and they rediscover life in the South and what it means, all that good stuff. So unfortunately, Richard Roundtree passed. So, and that is all the chocolate news that we have today. So now, John's gonna love editing this. Now we come to our special guest. Michael, say your name last time.
My name is Michael Chenevert.
Chenevert,
coming from
French, isn't it?
It is. My people were where the name originated was of course in France, but from Arcadia, Canada. And the story is that her name was Javianne Lewis, and she was a Haitian woman. She came all the way up to Canada and got pregnant. She was working in the house there, and the white mom lined up her 4 white boys and said, which one did it? And he stepped forward, Joseph. And the mother said, well, you got to marry her. So then they got married, and then the whole family moved to Lebeau, Louisiana, where there were a bunch of the Creoles and, mixed race people down there. This is before America. It was probably like 1850s, around that time. Well, that's how it came about. So there's a bunch of Cheneverts down in Lebeau, Louisiana, around Houston, New Orleans, and all of that.
I lived in Shreveport, Louisiana for a year.
Oh.
And I learned the law of crawfish, and be very careful when you ask if things are hot, because they will smile at you and say yes, and not realizing that I just meant, is the food still hot? No, it was spicy.
Would you have crawfish etouffee?
Oh, that is my favorite. Oh
yeah.
It is my favorite. What is the other one that they make? Not the king cake, but Well, etouffee is my favorite.
Etouffee, jambalaya, boudin, gumbo.
There was the magazine Louisiana before it went out of because of COVID, it went
Hmm.
out of publishing. They did a whole magazine on the different varieties of how to make etouffee.
Oh, wow.
There's a base, and then there was one with vegetables and some other stuff, and
Mm.
they sort of gourmeted it up a little bit, but I love etouffee. It's just fantastic.
Me too.
But
Me
enough
too.
about
Make me
food.
want some now.
Well,
Mhm.
we
Well,
we I'm trying to think who's here. There used to be a black restaurant who used to do etouffee.
yeah.
She was from New Orleans, but she went back to New Orleans.
Mm.
She's up here every once in a while. But have you been to Soul Food, Soul Secrets on
No.
Vine Street? You
Oh,
need to
what's
go to Soul Secrets. If you
okay.
like catfish,
Yes.
they got wonderful catfish.
Soul
Nice
Secrets
big
on Vine.
stuff.
You said Vine?
On Vine Street, right near, if you drive down Vine Street or walk
Mm-hmm.
down, it is next door to actually Soul Secrets is black owned, and Nostalgia, the bar
Oh,
next to it. If you've
right.
been to Nostalgia,
Tammy, the owner of Nostalgia. Yeah.
yes. Well, if you've been to Nostalgia, it's right next door to Nostalgia.
Okay. Yeah, I was there.
And if you can't get in, takeout
Hmm.
is just as good. And the
Okay.
banana pudding and the peach cobbler is excellent. I'm
Oh
just
my
giving
God,
a
I
free
love some
ad.
peach cobbler.
Yes.
Mm.
And but if you like bourbon,
Hmm.
across the street is another restaurant called Sacred Beast.
Mm.
And it's kind of like a pub like, almost
Hmm.
pub like or bar food atmosphere.
Hmm.
But they have a wonderful bourbon selection over there.
I
So
do like
just
bourbon.
a little bit of taste of Cincinnati in a different
Oh,
way.
I love it. Yeah, I'm gonna go down there pronto.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
So you are here in Cincinnati
Hmm.
and you're appearing in Clyde's.
Yes.
And
Another play about food.
you're right, it is another playbook. And what I liked, I got to see the opening night of Clyde's. It's fabulous.
Hmm.
Um, it's just interesting how it's a very fast moving play.
Yes, it
And
is.
you seem to be the wise man of the kitchen,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
to sort of help guide everyone else who's trying to overcome their circumstance in the play.
Yes.
Not to give too much away, but
No, no,
Clyde
it
is.
doesn't give much away.
But I mean, Clyde. When I thought of Clyde, I thought of a guy, not a woman. So
Well, right, exactly. Well, I think the first adaptation was a white man, and I think it was called Floyd's, and then it became a white woman, and then Len Nottage changed it to be Clyde's, a black woman. So yeah. So
because
it
she's
had some adaptations before it actually became a black woman, Clyde's, who was the owner of Clyde's, the restaurant.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
But it's still debatable whether or not that's her name, her real name. She might have just taken over the restaurant and just kept the name, you know.
she was very she's very hardcore, very unusual for a black woman to be that. Well, black women are tough, but
Hmm.
you don't see a black woman that tough, like,
Hmm.
as I would put it, trucker tough, so to speak.
Oh, wow. Yeah, she could deal with the criminals and the homeboys. Well, I mean, that's one of the lines in there is that, because the play itself is about five formerly incarcerated individuals who work at a truck stop making sandwiches. So then they try to make the best sandwich possible. So anyway, but Clyde's character, yeah, it's just one of those transitional places where people who come out of prison are able to work, and she seems to be someone who can handle that and take care of all the different type of personalities that come through it. She also has some of her setbacks as well, which are, she has a gambling problem and all of that. So she's also got her own demons that she's facing. But to be able to be someone that can deal with people with those type of circumstances, no matter what kind of attitudes they have, I think that's the type of woman she is. She can roll with the boys. She can handle things her own way. Because most people will not hire,
No,
unfortunately, former incarcerated people, and so we need these transitional places. There's almost like a limbo situation, between actually being incarcerated and being free. You got to find this place that kind of puts you back on a safe plateau of security of some sort, and to get acclimated to the world. That whole process is just must be really just grueling for a lot of people. When I did it in Hartford, we had organizations that actually came who, like that do work in prisons. And I'm wondering if if Cincinnati Playhouse is doing the same thing. I know they've done a lot of outreach, but I haven't heard anything about any transitional organizations that help inmates.
I haven't heard anything that like that. They've been encouraged to go see it, but I can mention it to a few people. But I mean, it's one of those things of where, as my day job is I'm a community engagement specialist, and it, and I meet people who are in that tough situation and they can't find a job. They don't want to fall back to what they know, but at the same time they can't move forward when they realize I can't do this again and go back. They don't want to go back to prison. They don't want to go back and face what goes on in there, because that's a whole different world that nobody understands or wants to deal with.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, I would love to talk to somebody who who says, yeah, I want to go back to prison. You know what I mean? I would love to see what makes that person tick. But yeah, you're right. Most people do not want to. No, I mean, to be acclimated. I mean, you come out and you're around kind of the same community that got you in there, so
But at
it's
the
like
same time,
starting fresh.
everything has moved on from where, like if you go in from 5 years ago to 5 now, smartphones have improved, technology has changed,
Exactly.
it's just weird how much has changed and they have to play catch up with. But
Yeah.
I mean, how did you prepare for your character in Clive? I mean, what did you do? Did you do anything special?
Well, I mean, I started, I do my own process all the time, which is people really don't know how literate actors really are. I mean, we have to read and do a lot of research and go, because there's certain things, like for instance, the role itself or the play itself is set in Pennsylvania. So right outside of Pennsylvania along a highway, a trucker stop. So my character mentions getting off the Bieber bus. Now, people don't know what that is. I didn't know what that was, but it's actually a bus that runs from New York through northern Pennsylvania down to Philadelphia and to southern Pennsylvania. So it's called the Bieber bus. So they actually go through these towns where all these prisons are. And so when they put them on that Bieber bus, that means you coming from upstate, you getting on the Bieber bus. So there's certain things that you just kind of have to research like constantly in order to see what it was about. But me, I had just done a play previously, I mean, weeks prior to doing Clyde's. That was a guy that was very meticulous, an art dealer. So he worked at the Metropolitan Museum, and he knew everything about Rembrandts. So he was this really high profile. He used to teach art history at a boarding school. So anyway, and then to play Clyde's, and I'm thinking, well, these guys are formerly incarcerated, so I kind of got to put on some, hood kind of whatever, but I found that I didn't, this guy, Montrellis, the character, had to focus more on on hope and what he wants to share and impart with the other characters in the play, that he didn't have to show his physicality of being in jail, incarcerated for 7 years. He didn't have to do that. Just the more zen he was, the more about his breath and breathing. He even mentions breathe. Everybody breathe. He says it like 5 different times throughout the play. So I started to really start researching more like Buddhist philosophy. I even drug up my ancestors who are Catholic and started doing the rosary and started to try to get like downloads like that about how to presence myself more with a spirituality aspect of it, even though it's just about sandwiches. This guy thinks that making the best sandwich is going to free you and give you victory and strength. But But yeah, so I started focusing more on that, and it really has been interesting a few months of doing it.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like that. One, I kind of like the combinations they came up with. Some of them a
Hmm.
little out there, and the rest was kind of like,
Oh, the
okay,
sandwiches. Oh
the
yeah.
sandwiches. I was like, that might work, but I just thought that when everyone heard your character's story of how he got
Hmm.
incarcerated
Hmm.
and how he put all of his hope into his brother, but not
Hmm.
himself,
Hmm.
that and he seemed to be very proud of the fact that his brother achieved the goal,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
even though your character made that sacrifice,
Hmm.
um not many people are that noble.
Oh, not at all. I mean, I don't think I could have done anything like that. But
But at
the
the
fact
same
that
time,
they were really tight because they grew up together without a mother and a father, so they really were taking care of each other. They were all each other had. And at that present moment in Montrellis's life, he was pretty much squandering his own life. He had done some things that he wasn't proud of. So he was able to sacrifice for him in a way. But there's also a thing too that I've been getting recently while doing the character and doing that monologue is that he says, I believe that his brother had more to give to the world than he did at that moment, than Montrellis did. And that right there, I mean, how many times do we feel that we're unworthy to really excel, and that, at this moment, like I'm very grateful to be on this, interview right now, but am I worthy enough? I mean, have I done enough? I mean,
it seems like everyone, I mean, a lot of actors have to dig down and find, that if they suffer from low self-esteem, how they need to help build themselves up to be able to portray this character or that character.
hmm.
I would say for you as an actor, where do you find your motivation to stay in this business, with, the strike going on out in Hollywood and
Hmm.
everything else going on? I mean, how do you stay motivated?
Well, I mean, purpose. One, I believe as an actor, I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and our family were pretty much activists. We opened up one of the first food co-ops in the nation, and we used to. I was wearing a dashiki at the age of 10, so used to do marches down the street in Detroit. So we were very aware. And so those who were around me, Ron Milner, he's a playwright. He wrote Denzel Washington's Broadway debut called Checkmates. And he was a good friend of our family. So everybody had this very strong Black consciousness, activist type of mentality. And me being reared up by them, I think that I also see it as a revolutionary kind of thing, not just. I mean, there are times when there's vanity involved and all of that and everything, but I've always looked at it as artivism in a certain way, giving your voice to those who can't speak. These characters, whether they be fictional or non-fictional, you're giving your voice as an advocate to their plight. You're able to portray their voice. I feel like sometimes I coach sometimes as well, but I feel like it's and just imagine a character comes and knocks on your door, is pounding on your door and asking you to represent him in court the next day. It's like,
Mhm.
can you show up for me? And because I can't be there, and this is what happened, this is how, and so you do all this research all night long, you do an all-nighter, and you have to show up for court for him, in his voice or in her voice. And so I do feel like my purpose and how I keep going is that I keep finding new ways to give voice to voices that aren't heard, and then also I learned so much more about myself in the process of doing that.
Do you find that we should still be activists today? You don't you see activism over an issue here and there, but
Yeah.
like how when you grow up, you don't see no one's walking around in dashiki anymore. You might
Yeah.
see a big fro, but then again, it might be dented in or not
Mm.
as well kept as it back in the '60s, and um,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
kind
there
of
was
like,
somebody that I was having a conversation about it. What's the difference between nationalism, like Black nationalism, and activism? And he's an activist or a militant. That's what he was, a militant or a Black activist. And I was like, and they were kind of putting them all together. But I always found that a Black nationalist, he'll wear a dashiki and he's more, in touch with his and pride of his African heritage, and knows his Black culture and, celebrates Kwanzaa. But then a militant is somebody who will actually, get out there and is beyond the fashion, brother. And it's beyond, I'm out here trying to be an activist and put myself in almost in harm's way, sometimes for a cause. So I think there is a distinction. I do think that it's still there. I mean, there is a fashion orientatedness to wearing your dashiki now. I see that's very popular. A lot of the red carpets, you'll see some type of African influence in the fashion and all of that. But yeah, you're right. Are we on the verge of getting up and protesting and being out there? I'm on the verge of it a lot, but I do feel that there is a fear, and will you be blackballed, blacklisted, and I'm sure that that's with media and journalists right now. They can't speak up and tell the truth. It seems like we're being silenced all over the place, and this whole thing that's happened in Gaza. I put up some on my media, on my social media. I put up some links for donating to the children of Gaza, but can I really say everything that I want to say about that?
yeah,
Yeah,
we haven't, in fact, our publication has not said all too much about it because it's such a volatile issue
yeah,
that basically we have said support everybody. And,
support everybody. Yeah,
don't support the atrocities, but support the people who are involved, who are being victimized, whether it's this or that. It's just war is horrible, whether it's
yeah,
Ukraine, whether it's this, and
yeah.
all that type of stuff. But I would just
That
say, what's next for you after Clyde's?
I mean, I'm going back to New York, and it's unfortunately, we're still on strike. I've been taking on regional theater gigs, which this is my fourth one since around February, which has been beneficial for my agents and my managers. But prior to the strike, they didn't want me to do any more regional theater. They were trying to go for bigger and better things. So I'm supposed to go back and start auditioning for bigger and better things. Unfortunately, most things are being written, but we're still on strike and can't really work unless the contract is solid. And
Is that going to be resolved anytime soon? Or are they still everyone?
they're still up in the air. People have all types of solutions to it. I know a bunch of A-list actors were talking about donating some money and trying to change the dues fees and make them more for those who are making more money. But that's not really the issue. The issue is not dues, how many dues we pay, but the issue is how much we get paid from these producers. And so will it be resolved soon? Someone said something about the end of October, but I'm hoping for January 1st. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well,
Yeah.
I know from what I understand, it's streaming, it's AI, the
Mm-hmm.
ramifications of new technology impacting the business, how people habits to seeing movies and
Mm-hmm.
going out to the theater has changed. I know
Yeah.
I've changed a little bit. I mean, I used to go all the time. Now I might go to this or wait for it to come on streaming and see it that way, or pay for it in a different way, which is less than this, or every
Yeah.
habits have just changed and everyone has not gotten out of that. But I would say for you next, obviously it's auditioning for bigger, better things.
Mm-hmm.
Any more one-man plays coming up you might
Oh
do?
yeah, I am going to do my one-man show. When Black History Month comes around, I do Adam Clayton Powell Jr., a show about his life, the rascal himself. And he's called An Adam Experiment. It's a play that I wrote probably back in 2015. and started. First show I actually did was at the Apollo, and brought some pretty big producers in, and one of them including Dr. Tyra Lindsay Warren, who you know from LAI Communications,
Yes.
who's actually a Cincinnati native, and who's also my cousin-in-law. Yeah. So yeah, family member. So she's booking me in Waco, Texas to
Okay.
do Atom Experiment again. I've also been asked just recently to do No Place to Be Somebody, written by Gordon. I'm gonna have to look him up. Wait a minute. Where's my phone? Anyway, but No Place to Be Somebody, which is a play, that an older play from the 70s, which every light-skinned African-American actor from the 70s has played, from Philip Michael Thomas to Billy D. Williams to Count Stovall. I don't know if you know him at all, but he's one of my mentors. Anyway, he's directing it at, I believe, the New Federal Theater, and I just got asked to do that, but that's still up in the air. I haven't signed contracts or anything like that, so I don't really know. Yeah.
Well, how long? Well, I will say this: how long is Clyde's playing at the Playhouse?
Oh, Clyde's is running to November 5th. We have 8 shows a week, 2 shows on Saturday. One good thing is that, well, this evening and November 1st are pay as you want or pay as you can nights. So you can actually pay $10 for tickets if you like on tonight and November 1st. But yeah, we run until November 5th. And you can get tickets at cincyplay.com. Yeah, the Playhouse is a really great. They have a new renovation of their theater, $58 million that they put into it. The facilities are beautiful. I also did a play back in 2016 there, when the theater wasn't renovated, but it was a baseball show. So we were a Negro League baseball team, Satchel Paige and the Kansas City Swing. But I thought that the theater was perfect for it because it looked like a baseball field inside. It did, right? So
yeah,
I thought it was perfect.
They changed it to, it's more of a stadium-esque seating where the different levels higher up. I don't know why. I thought it was perfect, but they wanted to do the renovations. I wasn't in charge. So
did.
Thank you for being on Chocolate News. And I really appreciate
so great
it.
to be here. Yeah, definitely. I will. I mean, if you're watching television, check me out on Godfather of Harlem. I was on that with Forrest Whitaker. Check me out on The Equalizer with Queen Latifah. These are past seasons right now, but if you're ever watching those shows, you'll catch me on those.
Wait, yeah. Equalizer?
Yeah, there was one episode where I pretty much featured throughout the whole episode. Yeah.
As a guest, you're not a main character.
Yeah, guest star. Yeah, I was a guest star.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. I'll look.
Yeah, check it out.
So one little thing that I have to do is thank you for being on, for coming to be my guest today. Then I have to say, you can find more information about today's topics and past podcast episodes at www.thecincinnatiherald.com, the Sesh newsletter, and or our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Threads. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. Our podcast is on Apple, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Amazon, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. In addition, the Cincinnati Herald is now accepting applications for our advertising representative. Please contact our publisher, Walter White, at 513-680-7076 for more information. I'm your co-host, Andria Carter, and have a great day.